What's up, boys? We're back with yet another zombie update. Today we're going to be trying out a full movement speed chemical build. There's two items that work really well with this, so we're going to go medic and huntress because they both have weapons and abilities that do chemical. And then I don't think there's a third one that's super good, but we'll probably grab engineer for some synergy with the huntress. So I think first up we'll probably try starting with the medic. I'm not sure if that's viable, but I think she does have the most chemical stuff overall. Here we're going for the chemical stuff, ability cooldown, ability area and duration, and then ice because we'll get a little bit of that, and I think it'll give some much needed crowd control later on to help buy us some room to land all of the chemical stuff. So one of these synergies, I guess I should go over the items first. So there's two different items that give movement scaling bonuses. One of them gives you chemical damage based on your movement speed, and then the other one gives a bunch of different ability bonuses. I think it's damage, area, and duration based on your movement speed. So we're going to try to get both of those and then just absolutely max out the movement speed. I don't know if it's going to be good because movement speed is actually a really bad stat in the game. I think by like 5 minutes or so in the game, zombies will already start spawning in a pattern where you just literally can't even move through them, so the stat itself doesn't really do anything, but we're going to be using it to scale up offensive stats, and maybe that'll make it decent. If we do that, we'll get a bunch of different things at least. So one of the synergies between the huntress and the engineer causes her traps to, I think... No, it's one of the engineer's skills. It drops a bunch of ice arrows. And then I think also one of the evolutions for her traps causes that one to drop a bunch of ice arrows. So with those combined, I think with the extra freezing tags we get, that'll give some decent extra crowd control and survivability, and that might make that frost badge worth it. I'm not completely sure on that. But the chemical type damage also has a bit of a slow effect. I think it's about half as strong as freezing, but hopefully they'll combine and give us some decent crowd control here. Yeah, I'm not sure if medic will have enough damage to even kill anything. We're going to need 5 levels to even get the chemical weapon at tier 2, and that might be kind of hard. I guess we should probably liberate and take the free level here. Oh man, these are awful. Probably not worth using rerolls. We can get a bit of consistent damage from that, since it'll shoot stuff when you're running around. So first up, we're probably going to be banishing and re-rolling a bunch of the items. There's some very important ones, like the ban hammer is insanely strong, just helping you banish a ton of the useless junk in the game. So we'll do that, and then every time you re-roll, you can spend another of those. That actually would be pretty good in the early game. That would help us find stuff. I think what we'll do is probably banish that. I doubt we'll have room for a pure survivability item. And then I think we'll lock down that and then grab that while we have all of these slots open. That'll be a decent boost, and then we'll replace that later on. See how that works for the early game. So we'll probably push the handgun so we can get some AoE chemical based stuff going as fast as possible. I guess drone here. So we have the lowest damage starting survivor, and we're getting awful level up options as well. But there's so many junk items, you kind of had to save all of your meta currency for those, I feel like. Movement? Well, that's a good start. We'll definitely want to banish these later on once I get the Banhammer, but we probably need to save them all for the items for now. Especially since there's two very specific ones that we want for a chemical ability build. So that is the one we want, but I think we're going to wait on that so I can keep going with a bit of extra damage on it for now. And we're gonna have to get some serious levels soon, or we're just going to get completely surrounded and not really have anywhere to go pretty soon. Although I don't usually get movement speed early on, so I guess that should extend it slightly. Probably take the level here then. Experiments, that'll give us a little bit of chemical stuff already, I guess. And then I guess we probably want to keep going to liberate so we can actually get the chemical-based weapons here as fast as possible. I guess we're gonna have to take the defense once it's available again, because those are just completely tying up my level up options here. So we'll go with the chemical only evolution on that. Then there's the defense evolution, get that junk out of the way. And finally we get another crappy handgun level. Can't even get the evolution yet. Here we go, syringe gun. We can finally get some chemical consistent damage going at least. Well, decent starts. If we can find the items that go with that. I guess you probably do have a smaller hitbox as just a single person. banish that. I do like the letter. That combines pretty well with another item where you can lock down one of them, and then that one will increase in rarity each time. So the new weapon she has is actually chemical as well. I guess we can try that out. I'm not sure what the difference between those is. It would be nice if they gave you a bit more of a description of like how the weapon actually functions. Like that's all just like RP. It doesn't even really tell you. All you really get is the various damage stats to go off of. So I guess it's a fast attacking weapon that just applies the chemical debuff. Yeah, we're already almost at the point where you can barely even move. Well, we don't want any of those. Guess we'll keep going Liberate for now anyways, and leveling up the tier 3 weapon. If I can grab that magnet, we'll actually be nearly done with this stuff here. So we definitely need to start adding in some survivors now. Get those weapon stats up while that's active. Out of these, probably armor. Let's see, we have the medic grenade, won't work with that. The huntress ability I think will work, and then engineer stuff is decent. I guess we could take that actually, although we have to put that on the medic now, which will give half the effect to the others. Okay, let's just go armor for now then. And then here I think we'll do the armor. That's a pretty big increase to that. Banish that. Oh, we already got the combo with that. Okay. So once we banish a bunch of military training stuff, this will actually allow me to get a legendary one each time, I think. And then here's our new little side quest thing where we have to get a bunch of samples to increase our elemental tags. And we could really use another survivor now. I really dislike how the arrow disappears before you even get to them for some reason. Yeah, we'll keep going there. Makes it kind of hard to find them sometimes when you're getting close to them, but not quite at them yet. Chemical? Yeah, I think we will grab that. Is there like different zombie scaling based on the number of survivors you have? Because this doesn't seem that unmanageable yet, although we only have the medic. Like, it's starting to get hard. Okay, so we'll have to spend some rerolls just to find them. Looking for engineer and huntress. Electrocution has a chemical evolution, but it's not that good currently. I think it does scale decently with levels though, so maybe we'll start leveling that. Try and get some decent levels on the engineer now if we can grab the magnet over here. Turrets, and then we'll keep pumping that. Finish that, and then I think we'll probably reroll here. That might be decent. I'm not sure if I'll have room for it and the final stuff that I'm going for. I guess it might help out now anyways. Probably have some decent number of situations where I won't really be able to avoid the damage right now. Then we'll decide if I want to replace that later on. Energy shield is good. It does start off a bit weak, and we almost have the evolution there, so we'll probably try and finish that off then. That's not the greatest. We could lock down one of these to improve it up. So I think crit damage would be the best. But we still don't have anything to really let us banish a bunch here, so I guess we will take that. And cooldown's actually not bad on... well, it wouldn't be bad on the flasks. I guess it's not the greatest here. But the flasks just throw one weapon and then instantly start reloading, so it's pretty good for that. But this one will actually keep firing for a while, so we're looking for the chemical one, so not that. Grab a level on energy shield to get that going. Energy shields. There we go. Also triggers whenever you get hit, dodge, or parry. I don't know what parry is actually, but yeah, that'll be a lot of extra chemical applications. can banish weapon-based stuff, and then I think we need to re-roll this. I don't think we really need to make them last twice as long. We can definitely banish some stuff here. That might actually be kind of helpful since we have slowing effects on both of those. I'm not sure if it's good, but I'm down to try it. And then we can wait a little bit to try to save some rerolls while we're leveling the engineer anyways. Energy shields. So we do want that for lots of freeze application. And then we can probably level the turret up. So that actually does pulse twice as often. That might not be bad then. I do hate the massive reduction in the range, but that might be decent here. We don't have that many different things that can apply freeze, and we do want it. Well, I guess we can just keep that locked there and then grab it next time anyways. Ability area. Yeah, I guess it will have to be engineer. Will that be better on the huntress when we get her? I don't think so. But we really just want to go movement speed anyways once that's available. It's not bad. Weapon critical hits reduce ability cooldowns. Can banish that. I guess our current weapons aren't the greatest at applying lots of hits, but we do have some stuff for that later on. Movement speed there? I think I will take that. It's only 2, but we're gonna try and get as much of that as possible. There's a huntress, and we managed to save a bunch of rerolls there. Very nice. So, are there any of these we need for synergies? I don't think so. So we could keep leveling the EMP grenade for now. Oh, Arrow Rain does have a pretty good evolution once you have some ability duration, so I might go for that first. With the sheer number of useless items and upgrades, should they just start you with the Banhammer item, to be honest? I can probably banish any of these, really. I can banish that now that we're almost full on this stuff here. And then I do like the skip rope later on. It doesn't really do anything for me currently, but I guess we'll go ahead and lock that in. Guess we could upgrade that one next. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the solar panel. This does help it out a bit, but I think with all the items I want, we're going to be pretty tight up on there eventually, so I think I'm just going to take the survivability thing. And we can take that now. And... huh. I guess he might actually deal the most chemical ability damage with the one thing he has. She'll have the decoy thing, and then experiment is generally pretty bad. So I think NG is the one here. So we get an entire extra volley for every 10% ability duration. How much do I have on her currently? So we already get 4 times as many volleys there, probably every 10 breakpoints. That'll be a pretty nice boost to my AoE damage currently. So I want to take a look at the other one. I think it might have some chemical damage on it. We can probably try and max that out since it's pretty close to max anyways. It says it does random damage types. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I think part of the little graphic on it does make it look like it has chemical as one of the damage types. So we might actually want to grab that one here. We don't actually need that, and then that's one of the main ones we want. Chemical damage based on movement speed. So we can banish that, and then we can get rid of that now. So it looks like it has chemical there, but cooldown reduction is so fun. I'm not exactly sure which one I want. I think I'm gonna go with the cooldown reduction and just scale up all of the other stuff. That also increases my chemical damage just because we're casting everything more often. So we probably want the one without a downside, and then the bow can eventually have some chemical stuff, so we'll probably go there next. That and the decoy ability that she has. Still really need the banhammer items so that I can actually clear up the military trainings though. Yeah, I guess we'll get that. It's not too many points to max out an ability compared to a weapon. I think the biggest thing with a build like this is there just aren't that many chemical abilities right now. And a lot of them don't even use some of the ability stats that you can scale up in the first place. Like, I think the best chemical ability in the game is probably the throwing knife evolution for the ghost. And you definitely don't use duration on that. I don't think you use area on it either, but I could be wrong on that one. Decoy. A lot of legendaries here, but not super good ones. I'm thinking we might just lock this to get a legendary on that, although we also don't really need it as much since we'll have a guaranteed legendary every time. So I guess it would mainly increase, like, pickups? I'm not sure if it increases the number of military training pickups or not. So I guess we'll probably just take the dodge chance. And then there's the Horde that has no downside, just a little bit of a bonus effect when it triggers. So we're out of banishes. We'll probably just want to take the skips to start scaling that up until I find something that I really want here, like the banhammer, hopefully. We at least have a pretty nice combo for getting value out of the military training with the skips and then the the two training-based things with blocking and rarity. Yeah, movement speed as a stat just really doesn't do anything. Kind of weird game design, I feel like. Decoy here. If they actually spawned in a way where you could move through them, then I could understand it. Let's go multi-shots here. Another chemical, why not? That does sound kind of cool. I'm not sure if we want it though. My items right now are pretty good. We can replace that with the ban hammer. I like all the military training stuff. That seems pretty nice. So I would probably only replace those two. And I think for a heavy chemical focus build, we're actually going to have so many different applications of it that we probably don't even need that. I guess we can take some health regen. Nothing amazing here. There we go, lasts longer amidst chemical cloud before explosion. Next, we'll probably want the tier 3 chemical bow. trap has a freezing arrow thing once you evolve that. I don't think so, since we actually want to apply the freezing stuff as well. So I think we just skip here and take the stats we get off of the rope. We can upgrade that to legendary. Wait, movement speeds. Yeah, I guess we'll start upgrading that, and then do I take a legendary dodge or rare ability area? I guess I'll eventually get a bunch of that from the other item, and it also has pretty harsh diminishing returns, so you don't really gain a ton from super stacking that. There we go, toxic arrows, paralyzing poison. Does that actually do anything, or is that just like RP? Because if it actually paralyzes them, that sounds insane. But I bet it's just weird RP, saying that it's just chemical damage. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be paralyzing them. Scammed. Then we can let that upgrade to legendary and probably just take the ability damage from now. And we'll probably have to go NG. Huntress probably isn't bad with the arrow rain, but I think the most chemical will be here. The most chemical ability, that is. The weapon attacks that the other two will probably bring them over there. Okay, so here's the last movement thing. Every 5 adds 1% to damage, area, and duration. And we definitely want that. We don't really gain anything. Well, if I reroll... I don't think I'm going to reroll though, now that we have the skipping stuff, so I think we can just drop that, and then drop something else for the Banhammer if we ever find that. The double slowing effect item does seem very good here though. I actually just unlocked that, so this is my first run with it. Movement? Yup, we'll take that every time. Oh yeah, what does that put the huntress at for the arrow volleys? Not actually that much, because there's diminishing returns on those for some reason. I guess 4 extra volleys, close to 5 now. That actually would give us some healing, but I don't think so. So we can grab our legendary movement. Do I want to lock any of those? They're not great. I probably will replace the solar panel, so I think that's out. And then I guess we can grab a legendary health regen. There's nothing better there. So, a few frozen arrows on activation. Yup, more freezing. And now combined with the electrocution synergy that drops those whenever it hits stuff, we actually have a decent number of frozen arrows just falling from the sky now. I wonder if it's worth skipping the level ups at some points once we have all of these done. With the rope, we get 2 points, which is 1/10 of a full military training, since we need 20 for that. And the military training is always going to be legendary. So we get 10% of a legendary military training for skipping the level ups? Don't think so. I don't think upgrading those really does anything. Yeah, we really need to trim down this. I guess I can reroll? Yeah, we have plenty of those actually. So we can do that one and grab the legendary health region. Movements. Oh yeah, I guess the legendary movement and military training is 25. We won't be able to get movement every time, but we'll be able to get other good stats like ability cooldown. So I guess it would be worth skipping since you're also building up the XP bonus slightly at the same time, right? For a little bit of extra value on that as well. So what we should do is max out all the rest of the abilities there and then just start skipping the level ups, I guess. And farming the legendary military trainings, right? So we have enough kinetic, I probably don't need to do that, but the new explosive effect might be useful where it can reapply all other status effects. It'll improve the freezing, which isn't that high, and the electric as well. That could work. Might be better than that. I think we're just gonna skip though. Please give me the band hammer so we can improve the military training. More chemical, why not? What's that up to now? 50% to apply, tiny amount of damage still. 50% slow is not bad. I mean, 100% slow sounds pretty strong. And then they spread in a range equal to 75, which I don't know what it means. But the 300% damage scaling should be decent at least. Do I want a legendary on one of those? I don't think so. Ability duration, I guess that's fine. And then we'll put that on the Engie because he has the grenade that also reduces cooldowns when it hits. So you get a little bit higher scaling on that. You're reducing his cooldowns, and then he's reducing everyone's a little bit. synergies are terrible. Chance is not terrible. Then we put that on probably Inji still, even though she does have the thing that scales pretty nicely with it. She still gets half of that. And we're not really going into the kinetic stuff anyways, it was just a good early game kind of thing. Although, I guess her decoy should work with that, right? No, it doesn't have a duration actually. Huh. Just cooldown and range. Well, at least we have all the skip stuff for the military training as well, so even though we can't find the banhammer, we at least get some decent stats off of it. So I haven't tried the plasma yet, so I kind of do want to. It sounds similar to the laser, just off of the stats there. So I guess it's like an AoE laser? That hits a bit slower but can hit multiple enemies. Let's reroll that. Ability cooldown is fantastic. Grab the crit chance. Probably Inji. Alright, let me go over this one more time to make sure I have that right. So skipping a level up will give you 2 points. You need 20 for a military training because it's 4 of them for it. So yeah, it should be 110. Wait, no, the 2 points is the XP. You get 1 point for skipping this. I wasn't reading the first parts. So you would get 1/20th of a military training by doing this, so it's slightly better if there's a decent stat here. Probably take the crit chance. Okay, good thing I went over that again. I completely missed the first part on there. Ability, crit chance. Either of those would be fine. We can get that through movement speed, so we'll probably take that. Put that on Ingy. Cooldown. Still no band hammer. Go crit damage, probably. Cooldown. The funny part is that they have these weird diminishing returns on almost every stat, even ones that scale normally, like area and duration and all. And then they have the diminishing returns on cooldown reduction as well, but because cooldown reduction as a stat has like increasing returns, you know, if you get like 50% cooldown reduction, you're doubling your casts. If you go to 75%, you're then doubling them again from your current amounts, and then 87.5% like that. The ability cooldown actually doesn't get that much worse as you stack it up, even with the diminishing returns. But area and duration get really, really bad because of that. I guess some health here. Legendary armor, that's not bad. Ability crits onto NG since we're putting most of the ability stuff on him anyways. I feel like if they're going to make the banhammer this important of an item, it shouldn't also be this hard to find. Probably, I think that gets better value here. That's a very low percentage compared to the normal, right? Yeah, it seems like it. And then the ability cooldown on that screen also fully works, whereas if you get one on the military training, you have to put it on one person and then the others only get half the value. Ability damage is fine. These are pretty bad. Dodge or health regen, I suppose. Maybe that'll save me from big hit at some point. Those are actually terrible. We probably have to re-roll that, since I will be replacing the solar panel at some point. Fine with either of those. We can do that and take the armor now. If luck improves the drop rate of the military trainings you find on the grounds, it actually is pretty good. I'm just not sure whether or not it does. Like, does it count as an actual power-up or not? Or is it just like its own classification of thing? Probably crit damage. We do have some rerolls. I kind of like getting those on the military training though, so we can guarantee good stuff there. Trick is honestly pretty solid. I think I'm fine with that. Lots of stunning, some okay damage. area's okay. Might be better to just take dodge since we'll get some of that anyways. Whatever, it's probably still pretty good for now. Crit damage onto Inji. Skip. Ability damage. It's really hard to find movement speed, because we can't get the banhammer. Ouch. Rerolling here would be pretty weak since they're so low, so probably just take some luck here. Wow. Guess XP? Finally, Banhammer. What to be replaced with that? Chemical 80.5%. Nice, tells you that at least. I guess that does almost nothing actually. It would be good if we could stack it, but I guess I slow stuff so much we don't really need that. So we can start banishing stuff here. I don't think I care about those, so we can reroll to find something better to legendary next time. I guess probably dodge chance. We can start trimming these down so I can eventually get that off of movement now. So he probably just wants like movement, ability cooldown, and then survivability. Maybe I should keep ability damage and crit damage since those are just regular damage stats and don't have any diminishing returns. So we can take some of those every once in a while. Actually, I guess I get enough damage stats from movement, right? Both ability damage and chemical damage. So we could leave crit damage in, but ability damage would be fine to banish then. Ability cooldown. Crit chance. Now I can banish more useless stuff in here until we just have something to replace that. And maybe that if I do want to do that. I guess we'll probably upgrade that one. We can banish duration since we get that from movements. Cooldown. Dodge? Yeah, these are pretty bad. Crit chance. Don't need that with the movement type. This is pretty good, it's just not super interesting. Definitely skipping for now. I might take that later on if I really want to pump the damage. Definitely banish that, and then we can get a legendary movement. That's super nice. Grab the armor. I didn't even see that guy charging. Oops. Good thing we have the defense trying to throw the hits. That, upgrade that, grab our legendary movements. I think I could use a quick break, and this video is already getting way too long for YouTube, so I'll probably split this up into like 2 parts then. So the final stats here, we're at 143% on that one, then 57.2% on 3 different stats there. Not too bad. The double military training thing is really cool, so we can always get a legendary off of that. Vanhammer came kind of late, but we can finally start trimming that down a bit. That actually feels super strong with the chemical 50% slow there, on top of the freezing 69% slow. Nice. Solar panel, we haven't really been scaling the weapon stuff up, but probably still some okay value. Might replace that at some point. Skip rope is super nice, get some extra military trainings for that. Level up a bit more with constantly scaling XP modifier. Let's see, all of the ability upgrades are going here. He's at 62%, 440, 169, 164, and 60. She's up to 7 volleys total on the arrow rain. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.